Blackmyth Wukong, the action RPG, but not so easy as other action RPGs. The boss rush game, but not really. The Souls-like game, but not exactly.
It's not a Souls-like game.
This is a game that's been out for a little while now, and I'm only just now getting this review out. But that's okay. I'm hoping that when this game wins Game of the Year, this review will be relevant again. So for this video review, I want to go over, in the first part, some of the few things that stood out to me as interesting and some of the more controversial parts of Blackmyth Wukong. And in the second part, I want to talk about 3 things that I think are the reason Blackmyth Wukong wins Game of the Year, despite it not necessarily being a 10 out of 10 game. Let's dive into it. First, the game runs well. I had maybe 1 crash the entire time I played. Now, I don't play on ultra settings. I don't have that powerful of a computer, but I do play on high settings. My computer is strong enough for that. And on high settings, the game still looks phenomenal. I bumped it up to ultra in a few locations just to see how good it looks, and it does look a bit better, but at high settings, the game still looks just, you know, chef's kiss. Awesome. Now, with that said, at no point did I run into any bugs or hit anything that really broke my immersion in the game. It's just a solid game with regards to how it runs. Second, the game is beautiful. Like I said earlier, I mean, even on high settings instead of ultra settings, instead of 4K, the game just looks phenomenal. There's so many vistas. I mean, you start off in like a forest area, then you go through a scorched desert, and then a snowy tundra and icy mountains, and you're in hollows and underground caves and caverns, and then a volcanic mountain that's spewing lava, and then you're in like a open world swamp. There's so many different vistas to this. The entire time I was playing it, I just kept thinking, you know, this is what Halo Infinite was supposed to have. It was supposed to have all these different biomes and different, you know, levels that just had different energy to them, a different feel to them, instead of just the 2 things we got in Halo, which was the main outside world area and then the inside world areas that were like metal ship. So yeah, this is just a beautiful, colorful, vibrant game. It's really alive, comes to life. Third, it sounds awesome. I mean, first off, the passive sounds, things like the waterfalls and the crickets chirping, great. Immersive. And then the more active sounds that you'll see in combat, like when you hit people or when the bosses, like, you know, do different attacks, it just sounds juicy. That's the best way I can describe it. The sound of that is just phenomenal. And then even the Destin one and the sounds that he makes, I found myself multiple times when I'd hear that monkey go, I'd be doing the exact same voice along with him. Just awesome sound to it. The character voice acting as well was just out of this world. I mean, for a game especially that wasn't originally made in English, you know, we basically got an English dub of it. The voice actors for all these characters are just awesome. I mean, every single voice actor sounds different, sounds fresh, sounds new and enjoyable to listen to. It really sums up who their character is as well. They don't just sound like the same person over and over, these boring characters that don't really have anything to them. You know, Zhu Bajie, the boar-looking guy that's with you for a huge portion of the game. I mean, that voice actor alone is like, wow, I want to meet this person in real life.
Don't you know I'm a pious Buddhist? Give me your mother's name, and I'll check my list.
Phenomenal sound. And then, don't get me started on the music. I mean, everybody has talked about that song. As soon as I heard it, banger, that's getting downloaded. But I will say, I've always listened to, well, I watch movies like Hero, House of Flying Daggers, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, those kinds of movies. And, you know, they have beautiful Chinese music in it. And it's cool to hear, you know, coming from, you know, more Western civilization in the United States, where we just hear pop music and a lot of different other music as well. But you don't hear too much of the Chinese music. So that was a cool addition to this game as well. Really enjoyed that. Fourth is the small details and style that's in this game. You can really tell that this game was made by a group of people who care about making an enjoyable game, a fun game, and a deep immersive game. There's so many tiny little details. Like for instance, I have a few of these examples. When you defeat the old loon on like the north shore of the Bitter Lake, after you defeat him and he's standing there static, he's not really standing there static. He's like standing there and he's like, "Oh, your dog could get me a healing pill and then I'd be okay."
Shoe Dog loves his medicinal arts. Even his nation. He's surely tending the furnace flames somewhere.
And he's kind of doing the movement of like a dragon still, that slithering movement with it. Other things are like the boar, the drunk pig guy that you meet in the desert area. When he's talking to you, you can hear in the undertones of his voice like squealing and grunting, like pig noises, right? Same thing for the horse guy that you meet through multiple levels. You can hear like neighing and whinnying in the undertones of his voice. Just small little details like that that just make it feel like you're actually talking to a horse or to a pig, even though they're speaking to you in English, or just speaking to you in general. It really helps to make those characters themselves and makes them unforgettable, really. The other thing that obviously everyone no doubt is talking about, the cutscenes. I mean, as soon as I finish that first chapter and the cutscene starts, it's like, what is this? I was not expecting this. I don't think anyone was expecting, animated cutscenes right in the middle of the game that add to the story. That first one, it's animated and it's beautiful colors, again, beautiful music. The next one we get after that is claymation, and it's just like, look at this. Like, how much time and effort was put into these cutscenes as opposed to, just a more standard way of doing cutscenes. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just, it once again just shows the amount of effort and the amount of heart that they put into this game as well. The fifth thing, I think, is pacing. I think they did pacing very well in this game. There were certain moments in this game where things could have begun to lull. And I think the developers realized that, and so in that moment, they changed the status quo. The first that comes to my mind, or one of the main ones, is right early on in Chapter 3. By that point, a lot of us had gotten to the point where we were like, okay, I figured this game out, I know how it works, I know exactly what I gotta do. Even getting a little cocky, like, I got this is easy, I know, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden, we get locked into like this prison maze with weird guards that are like half human, half giraffe, half street light, creepy guards that can like stun you, and you lose sound and you lose vision to a certain degree. And all of a sudden, enemies are like hiding in shadows and dropping down from the ceiling, and the difficulty jumps up a whole notch. And it's like, oh God, what is happening here? And you're just trying to get out of there, That was a great change in pace. Like I said, by that point, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, the formula had kind of been established of you find a boss, you fight him, you defeat him, you get more materials, you get more equipment, you find another boss, repeat. And so breaking that up with this change in pacing, by the time we were done that section and we got back to the more formulaic, it was welcomed. Oh, thank goodness that's done with. We can get back to breathing a little easier now. So I think that was brilliant. And that was just one example where I think the developers did that. Also, it was soon after that they started to, for the most part, start giving you more non-humanoid bosses as well, like Captain Y's voice, or Void Illusion, or all the different captains that you fought, which were like these, alien-looking things almost to describe them. Obviously, we had dealt with some dragons up until that point, but aside from dragons, the majority of the bosses were humanoid, and so giving us some more stranger bosses that weren't exactly the norm was an interesting change as well that helped keep the game feeling fresh and enjoyable. Okay, so with the sixth one, we're starting to get into the territory where some people disagree on things. Story. It's either you love it or you hate it, from what I've seen. Personally, I love the story. A lot of people were making the argument that you have to have some outside, deeper knowledge about Journey to the West, the novel that this game is based on, in order to fully understand this game. And I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I think by the end of the first chapter, I had figured out, okay, well, what's the point? What's the plot of this game? and understood that without looking anything else up, without even seeing the cutscene that was at the end of that chapter, just paying attention to the game, you realize, okay, there was a monkey. His name was Sun Wukong. He was defeated or killed or something by these guys, the Celestials, that put him into this egg, you know, and we're going out, we're another monkey, and we're trying to get the relics that all belong to him, bring them back so that we can bring Sun Wukong back, because he kind of represents like rebellion and freedom against tyranny. And so that's what we're doing. And as we go along, we realize we're treading in his path. We're kind of going down the road that he went down years ago, meeting the people that he met, whether they were friends or foes. These are people that he had an impact on, whether it was good or bad, you know, and we're just following along and seeing what the story tells us about that. So, I mean, you don't have to have this huge knowledge of Journey to the West, or any knowledge really, in order to understand this game. If you just pay attention to the different storytelling points that the game gives you along the way, it's enough to play it. Now, with that said, I can understand where people are saying, oh, you have to understand. If you have knowledge of Journey to the West, you're going to enjoy this game even more, because it's just another part, another aspect to it. If you look up videos online, explanation videos of the things that happened, explanation videos of the cut scenes in the end, that's also going to be helpful. It's really going to bring this world to life even more. But I don't see that as a barrier to entry. I see it as a bonus after you've entered into this world of, hey, there's even more information I can learn about it. So I'd highly recommend looking at some explanation videos. It brings the game to life even more. 7. Tutorial and guidance. This game definitely takes the minimalistic route when it comes to holding your hand. It gives you very little, you know, it gives you a basic rundown kind of how the shrines work, how some of the abilities work. Every once in a while when you get something new, a little bit of dialogue pops up on screen and you're given some information. And that's really it, you know. There's no mini-map in the game, which I thought I was going to hate, but I didn't. It works for this game. This isn't an open world game. It is like a linear, non-linear hybrid, essentially. There's a chosen path, and you can kind of branch off from that path and link back into it later on, or branch off from that path, dead end, and then you come back to the path. So with that fact, you won't ever really get completely lost, because it is rather linear. So it actually worked not having the mini-map, in my opinion. But I think this one is really just going to come down to what each individual likes. Some people like to get into a game that doesn't really give them anything. It just gives them the basics and says, go figure it out, go learn for yourself, go trial and error, go watch a YouTube video. A lot of people don't like that, and that's understandable. You can't blame people for that. A lot of people want to get into a game, have the game explained to them, this is how it works, and then they play along with whatever they were told is the rules and how everything works for that world. So that's just something that you have to take into consideration going into this game, you know. That brings me to number 8, the big one. Invisible walls. They are so annoying in this game. I mean, hey, look at this beautiful area over here. Let me go. Oh, no, there's an invisible. Okay. Wow, look at this river and all these. Oh, no, invisible. Hey, look at this cliff with such an awesome view. Let me go. No, invisible wall, right? You're locked out so much from exploration. There is a modicum of exploration that you can do in this game, but for the most part, you can just look, but you can't touch. You can look at all these different things and see them, but you can't go check them out. You can't go see what's going on. And that's just how it goes. It's an unfortunate fact about this game, but the game was never said to be an open world game. I watched a bunch of trailers and looked to see if it ever said that. I looked on the website, on Steam. I didn't see it say open world anywhere. So you kind of just have to accept this isn't an open world game, you know? And then you just move on and get on with the game. 9th. I've seen people complain about the gameplay. This one I wholeheartedly disagree with people on. The people who say, oh, the gameplay is shallow, there's nothing to it, it's just, you know, left click, right click, that's it. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. This game has a lot more to it than what's just on the surface level with regards to the gameplay. I think people who say that maybe didn't dive as deep into the attacking the gameplay as they could have. There's so many. I mean, you have your light attack, you have your heavy attack. You also have aerial, light, and heavy attack. You have sprinting attacks. You have your chained combos that you can unlock into your skill tree somewhat. You also have the 3 focus points that you can unlock as you unlock things in the skill tree, which each of those provide you with a heavy attack option, yes, but all 3 of them are different in their timing, they're different in the variation of the animation, and they're different in the amount of damage that they do. So they're essentially different attacks, each one. You can complete attacks that you can chain together and create new attacks as well. You can also chain the majority of all of these attacks together in different combos. Now, I think the issue people have with it is that the combos aren't, how do I put this, exact button combos, where it's like, okay, you have to press X triple square, double down, square, square, X.
Ah, man, I told you. I'm doing it. X circle, X, double left square, right trigger down, square, square. Oh, double square. Respect. Respect.
That's not the kind of comboing this is. This game kind of just says, these are the moves. You can go ahead and combo how you like. You can play how you like, kind of thing.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
The other part of it is the game is definitely trying to push you towards using not just your attacks, but also your transitions and your abilities, working that into every single fight with every single boss, along with even the weapons that you choose and the builds that you choose for your armor. The game wants you to create a synergy between your attacks and your armor builds. It kind of reminded me, honestly, like of Destiny in some circumstances, where it's like, okay, if you chain this ability that comes on this armor set with this way of fighting and this particular stance, you can just get an unlimited recharge on this and recharge and attack and recharge and attack over and over again, and it just makes certain boss fights easy, you know? And I think that it's proven that the game is trying to get you to use all these different things at your disposal because of the fact that the game lets you respec all of your sparks at any point. It just says, yeah, you can respec them. You're not locked into it. If you want to delete all of those areas and get all your sparks back and put them all into this area and then go fight a boss because that'll be the better way to do it, that's fine. So I do not agree that gameplay is shallow. The gameplay is phenomenal here. I think there's another part to it as well, which I'm going to get into in a little bit, but that's the main part. Gameplay, I really enjoyed it. 10. Bosses. Okay, we're really getting into where this game shines now, okay? The bosses in this game are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. There are 107 bosses in this game. That's main bosses. There are also like these underling bosses that are like glowing blue that you can pick up spirits from as well. There's also just world bosses that are just kind of hanging around that aren't really full underling bosses. So I mean, altogether, there's probably like 150 bosses, okay? At no point did I get bored of a boss or feel like it was just reskinned or feel a sense of sameness. Every single boss felt new and different and special in their own way. They had attacks that made them interesting to fight. Every single boss you ran into, some of them, wow, this is easy for me because I can do this, this, and that. Others, you run into them, this is so difficult because I mainly do this, this, and that. And I have to change everything the way I play in order to handle this boss. It's absolutely brilliant. That's what this game shines at. This game shines at just creating so many experiences right in the same game. Honestly, you could take a bunch of these bosses, put them into, any other action RPG, and everyone would be like, oh, this is awesome. And it will be a fraction of the amount of bosses that are in this game. So the bosses, phenomenal. The amount of bosses, they just spoiled us. They absolutely spoiled us. You could have put 10 of them in this game and we would have been singing praises. Then they went, no, put 20. Then they went, no, put 50. Put 70, put 100. Just throw 7 more in there. 107 main bosses. Insane. Number 11. The final short point is just the overall fun of the game. the feeling of exhilaration and heart-pounding happiness and excitement that this game can create every time you defeat a boss over and over and over and over again, every single time you meet a boss and they're difficult to deal with and you cut through them. It is where this game shines. Creating that feeling over and over again. You just have so much fun. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some bosses you're going to meet and they're going to make you want to rage quit. That's very true. Wandering White, I don't know if I was just stupid or what, but I must have fought that guy like 50 to 70 times and I just did not know what I was doing. Finally got that dealt with. And then the white-clad noble, you know, the serpent water guy, took forever. The rat guy in the second one, I didn't have too much trouble with him, but there were so many other bosses along the way that, oh, I want to walk away from this game. I'm going to refund it. I'm going to get my... But ultimately, I didn't. And when you finally beat him, that's just an awesome feeling. That's why you play these kinds of games. So now we come to the question, why did this game do so well? This game is made by a company that, from what I can see, it looks like they've only made 3 games. They made Black Myth Wukong, and they've made 2 other games. I think one was called like 100 Heroes, and then another one was like Red Tides or something like that. And it was a mobile game. They haven't made a ton of action RPG games. They haven't made really any action RPG games aside from Black Myth Wukong and the 100 Heroes, it seems like. This is their second game, and they turned it into a game that a lot of people are calling for being Game of the Year. How does that happen? Well, there's 3 main things I think that made that happen. The first, there's not really any agendas being pushed in this game. At least not in the way that we mean when we say that. Every game has an agenda. What's that agenda? Well, the agenda in this game is, you know, the idea of rebellion against tyranny and freedom. That's the agenda being pushed in this game. But the agendas that we see in a lot of games nowadays, it's not here. And it seems like companies were dogging on game science and Black Myth Wukong because it wasn't here. But it also seems like that's a big part of the reason this game has succeeded. At no point does this game seem like it's talking down to the players. At no point does this game seem like it's getting really preachy. At no point does this game seem like it's villainizing a specific group of people. At no point does this game seem like it thinks that it has this message that it has to push that is penultimate and the most important thing to get out there. This game is just trying to be a fun game to play. And you see that in the game. And I think what happened is because it didn't have a lot of these messages in it, a lot of YouTubers picked up on that and ran with that because that's something that a lot of people talk about nowadays. And so when that got held up for this game as something that this game is not got in it, it's not dealing with that, it's just a fun, enjoyable game to play, a lot of people ran with that. It put the word out there about this game and really blew it up even more than it already was at. I think that's the first part. Second, this is a gateway game. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a gateway game. Okay? Like I started out this review with, so many people have said this game, oh, it's a boss rush. No, it's a Souls-like. No, it's not a Souls-like. It's just an action RPG. No, it's like a hard action RPG. People have been all over the place, and you've probably heard that. You've probably seen that. I think that's because this is a gateway game. This game is not particularly the run-of-the-mill action RPG. It's definitely not your run-of-the-mill Souls-like or boss rush game even. It is a hybrid. It's a mix of all of that. The best way for me to explain that is, well, people look at Souls-like games that are kind of notorious, like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, those games that are notorious for being hard games, right? You got to get good in order to be able to play those games. We look at them and we go, ugh, I don't know if I'm good enough to play that. I don't think I should spend the money on it. I don't want to take the chance that I'm not going to be any good at it, or even worse, not going to enjoy it because I'm not any good at it. And so people don't get into there or into those games. It acts as a barrier to entry, how difficult the game is. But, and I'll explain it using what happened to me. because I'm one of those people who doesn't play Souls-like games, never has. Now, after playing this game, it's kind of gotten me interested in playing some Souls-like games. But what happened with me was we got the trailer that we all saw for Black Myth Wukong. Monkey running around, had a stick, and he was just hitting everything in sight in the snow. Okay, cool. This game looks awesome. I'm in. When does it come out? Oh, well, not for a few years. Okay. Things go quiet for a little bit. We see another trailer come out. Once again, this looks awesome. I'm liking what I'm seeing. When does it come out? Take my money. I'm ready to buy this game. I'm ready to play it. Still not for a little while. Okay, things go quiet again. Finally, we get an announcement. Hey, it's going to be coming out August 2024. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. We get closer to August, and all of a sudden, all the YouTubers who get early access to games start playing the game, and it comes out, and the realization is made that this is, and a lot of people were saying, a Souls-like game. Suddenly, I had a choice to make, and a lot of other people had a choice to make as well. What happens? Do I just say, oh, nope, not touching it, not even messing with it. This is the game that I've looked forward to for years now. I'm invested in. I can't wait to get my hands on this game and be able to play it. Do I just push all that to the side and say, nope, it's a hard game. It's one of those hard games that I don't play. Nope, I'm done. Or do I say, I've never been one to play those more difficult games, but I was really looking forward to this one. Okay, I think I'm going to spend the money on it. And I think that's what a lot of people did. They spent the money and they got into this game. After that, something amazing happened. What was it? We started playing a harder game, right? This wasn't a button mashing, and a lot of people might say it was, but this wasn't just a solely button mashing action RPG, easy to play, easy to win kind of game. This game took focus, it took time, it took, calmness so you don't rage. This game took some level of skill, some level of getting better than we were before. It was a challenge. We fought bosses that were hard, and we lost. And we lost over and over and over again until finally we got the win. And we felt that feeling of defeating a boss that was so difficult we had to play them 50 times and beating them finally. And we were in. After that, we were in. And that's what's happened for me. Personally, games like Elden Ring, I'm going to be playing them now. Games like Dark Souls, I want to jump in on that now. I want to try it out. Maybe those will be too difficult for me. Who knows? But this game has acted as a gateway game. It has taken me from wanting to play the easy games to wanting to play the hard games. And this is something that I kind of referenced earlier on in the review, but I think that's a part of why some people say the gameplay itself is shallow. I think that's by design. I think the developers of this game decided, let's kind of make an action RPG game that's more difficult, like it wants to be a Souls-like game. It won't have nearly as deep gameplay as a Souls-like game, but it also won't be as shallow as an action RPG. It'll be this happy medium that allows players who haven't played those more difficult games to get into that world a little bit more, to experience it, to see what it's like, and that'll just be awesome because we find this little niche that we fit in, and that's exactly what this game did, and that's exactly what the developers did. And personally, I think it worked out well. People started playing this new niche that they had never played before. And what do? They do? They tell their friends, this game's awesome, I'm having so much fun, and then they go and buy it. And then they tell their friends, and then they go and buy it, and it just blows up even more. The third reason I think this game did as well as it did is because the setting felt so fresh and new. We've done a lot of different settings in the past few years. I got a bunch of them written down here. So we've done the Norse mythology, right? A lot of that recently. We had Assassin's Creed Valhalla, The God of War Ragnarok, Valheim, Hellblade, Hellblade 2. We've done Greece and Rome as well. You've got Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the original God of War trilogy, Rise, Son of Rome. We've done quite a few games set in the medieval times. You got For Honor, you got Kingdom Come. There's a Gothic remake coming up as well. You've got the Witcher series. Even games like Elden Ring, even though they're more fantastical and they exist more in a fantasy world, they do have a lot of the kind of medieval themes to them, you know, those settings and themes and armors and characters. A lot of them had that medieval look to them. So a lot of these games are enjoyable. You might even say some of these games are 10 out of 10 games. Some of these games have won Game of the Year. So it's not about those games being bad or anything, but the setting has been done often, and so players are not tired of it, but used to it. It's not something that's new and fresh and different. This game is new and fresh and different. I'm not saying it's never been done before, but what I am saying is, when was the last time we got a game that was based off of Taoist and Buddhist mythology that was this big of a game? I can't think of it. I'm sure there's been a few, but this is a rarer setting. And because of that, it's kind of like when you stepped out of the escape pod onto the Halo ring in the first Halo game. You look up and you're like, okay, this universe is something different. This is something new. This is something special. There's going to be so much to explore. There's going to be so much to learn about. There's going to be so much to find out. The story, the world, the look, the characters, the aliens, the species, everything is going to be new and different and fresh. And that's what this game did. It gave us so many different things that the majority of us hadn't seen before, and that feels new and different and fresh. And I'm all in for it. I heavily enjoyed it. And I think that was a big part of why this game succeeded as well. It stood out from the rest. It stood out a little bit higher than everything else that was around it. And so it drew more eyes. More people heard about it. Oh, you play as a monkey? Okay, he's dealing with, what is that, like a centipede man? A giant bull? That's like a dragon, obviously. What is that? That looks like some sort of alien thing, non-void. And so that really helped this game as well. Ultimately, this game ended up selling, what, 20 million copies, probably a bit more. That's huge for a company that this is only the third game they've ever made. Personally, I'm looking forward to seeing what else they're going to do next. Yeah, so that's the review. You might disagree with everything I said. You have every right to. And hey, who says I'm right about everything? But this is just what I think. I think this game wins Game of the Year. And I think that's the reason why it wins Game of the Year. Even though I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 game, I'd definitely give it a 9 out of 10. This is what we're looking for in games, you know? A game that isn't, oh, you have to log in every single day in order to get this multiplier so that you don't fall behind, and you have to also get the season pass, and it'll no, you pay your money, you get the game, and then you can go. It's a complete game, ready at launch, not filled with bugs and issues and unplayable. You're able to play through, have fun, great story, great characters, great action. Who could ask for more? So with that, I'd say this is a solid 9 out of 10 for me. Great game. Black Myth Wukong. Quite enjoyed it. You guys have a great day.